Keeping on symptom management, we're moving on to some prehabilitation. It's Alison Allan. Gee whiz, I can't get the words out. Alison Allan is the next speaker up. Alison's got a background in nursing as well, predominantly specialist palliative care background. And she's been with Maggie's for 5 years now and actually is leading the prehab pilot with Maggie's in Scotland, which is a great pilot. It's not been long running, and we've got a few patients in Highland involved, and I'm sure some other people have as well. Not quite seen Alison here beside me yet, but I'm hoping she'll pop up soon.
I'm definitely here.
Thank you and welcome. So again, we'll if you're good to go, we'll leave you to go, and we'll maybe catch up some questions from people at the end of your talk, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, no problem at all. I'm just going to see if we've got my presentation coming up here. I think that's it. I think everybody can see it. I'm absolutely delighted. I'm absolutely delighted to be with you and join you today. I'm going to give you a little bit of a whistle-stop tour about what can you do for you now, today, moving forward, and perhaps give you the opportunity to join some of the Maggie's teams across Scotland in our prehab project, if that is something that would be of interest to you and your families. Maggie started the prehab pilot in November of last year in collaboration with your local health board, and that doesn't matter whether that's Glasgow, Edinburgh, Highland, Grampian. We are working across Scotland, our 8 centres, providing a universal prehabilitation to people with a cancer diagnosis or similar, and their friends and family. And it's a bit of a new word, isn't it, in terms of what is prehabilitation. Lots of people have heard about rehabilitation, so I haven't made a typo, but we're talking about rehabilitating before treatment starting. So we're talking about prehab. And in Maggie's, we like to talk about getting yourself ready. But what is it, and what does it really mean? Well, it's about giving yourself the opportunity to make some choices around your own personal circumstances. And that is your physical, your emotional circumstances. And regardless of cancer diagnosis, regardless of treatment options, and regardless of stage of cancer. So everybody can access prehabilitation, whether that's at the time of diagnosis or the time of a new treatment starting. This is an offer that is open to you and your families going forward from Maggie's. And I appreciate that may not be accessible at this point for everybody. It is a pilot, and Scottish Government are looking at how to make this accessible. So I'm very happy to pick up with that if that's a particular issue in your area. So in essence, prehab is getting yourself ready. And why bother? Why is it important? Well, it's a real opportunity to help manage your physical health, to help improve emotional health and reduce the side effects of treatment. Because there's real evidence there to suggest that if you do these things, that people recover more quickly from treatments, that it improves overall well-being and gives people a sense of control at a time which can be quite difficult. And it's an opportunity to learn how to help yourself. And it comprises 3 components in essence. It's about emotional well-being following a diagnosis. It's looking at nutrition and nutrition support and trying to make some good choices through that. And it's looking at physical activity and looking at maintaining some activity. And we're not talking about people taking up marathon running. We're just looking at making conscious choices around activity. So, these are the reasons it's important that people recover from treatments more quickly. It has the potential to reduce side effect profile, and it gives you that sense of a better well-being, which is important when you're managing a long-term condition. So I was going to give you a little flavour of, just a little flavour of the three components of rehabilitation, and talk about emotional well-being and talk about nutrition and physical activity. And it's just a taster into the 90-minute session that we do offer. And then there's a small film which really captures it much better going forward. And there's a local film for your area. So there's a local film for Glasgow, there's a local film for Highlands, and there's a local film for Tayside. So it may be worthwhile looking up your local film. It is also on the Prehab website for Scottish Government. The main components of why prehabilitation is important for everyone, regardless of stage of disease. So emotional well-being, it's important to talk about emotional well-being, because when a diagnosis comes, it is unexpected, it is unwelcome, and it is often difficult perhaps to look after your emotional health if that's something that people haven't perhaps had to do very much of, or perhaps even some of the things that you would normally do aren't holding you in the same way anymore. So emotional well-being includes, its thoughts and feelings in relation to a diagnosis, all of which are normal, but some sit quite uncomfortably with us. And we can experience unhelpful thoughts that impact on how we live our day-to-day lives, and that can be the what if and the spiral thinking that can be difficult. We can get into places where we are stuck with our thinking that impacts on enjoying the day-to-day and the things that we usually like. So that recognition of sitting in front of the telly and suddenly thinking, actually, I haven't heard a word that they've said, or waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and suddenly your mind seems very active at that time of night with difficult thoughts that can feel very isolating and lonely. And by looking after your emotional well-being in a more positive way can help people navigate treatment and make, and when I say treatment, I use that loosely. It can help you navigate symptom management in a more positive way, giving you that sense of control. And one of the main components of emotional well-being is adjusting to things that we can't control. So we haven't chosen to have a mesothelioma. It hasn't been a choice, and the feelings that come alongside can be unpleasant and not ones that perhaps are easy to live alongside. And it is a process of adjusting, as sometimes people will feel all right, other times they may be angry or feel numb or despondent. And it's just important to allow and acknowledge that these are all a very normal response to a diagnosis, and that people will recognise some of that at being at different times in their journey, that people will recognise how they felt firstly at diagnosis, maybe feel differently now if they've been living with that for weeks or months and longer. But sometimes we can feel trapped by experiencing one emotion for too long. And that's not just the person with the diagnosis, but friends and family as well. And the emotional well-being element of the prehab session is looking at what strategies could we use to help, what support is there available, and what are the things that I have used in my life before when difficult things have happened to help manage emotional well-being. So it's important that we take some responsibility for our own emotional well-being and help us process what's happening and adjust to the things that we can't control. Very often, people can feel overwhelmed, completely overwhelmed, that it consumes all of your thinking time and it takes up all of your thoughts, and it's trying to adjust and process some of that in ways that are helpful. And that could be very practical ways of things like speaking to somebody, talking about your feelings. It may be distracting yourself for a short period of time. It may be engaging in something new, like mindfulness or some relaxation. It may be going for a walk. It may be absorbing yourself in an activity, whether that's television or a crossword, that helps you distract yourself from these difficult thoughts at times. So it's just a flavour of what we would talk about within the session. And we might talk a little bit more about what are the things that people have used in the past and what are the difficulties that people are experiencing in relation to their emotional well-being following a diagnosis or during the prehab session, and what is it that would be useful in terms of changing some of your behaviour so that people don't feel trapped. So as I say, it's just a bit of a flavour of what we discuss in the prehab session. Nutrition is important as well, and making sure that you make some good choices. And eating well is something that you can have complete control of. It puts you in control and helps you feel better to stay stronger for longer. And sometimes, we can make good choices around that. Sometimes it's not always possible, and we're not advocating in any way that you don't have things that you enjoy, but it can be something that would be helpful in making you feel physically better yourself. So maintaining a bit healthy body weight, maintaining muscle and strength, which is difficult when perhaps you're less able to be as active, or that you feel perhaps breathless. And that perhaps then if we think of nutrition as medicine and as treatment, that could be helpful in helping you to tolerate treatment and help promote some recovery whilst you're receiving treatment as well. We're not advocating that people give things up or lose weight. We're just saying what choices could be made that would be different, that might be better. And that could be adding a few more fruit and vegetables into people's diets. It could be drinking a little bit more water. It could be swapping out a fizzy drink for perhaps some fizzy water, and making choices that are relevant to you. We cover more in this session around some of the myth busting facts and figures out there as well, and the dietitian can sometimes be involved in some of the sessions, which can be very helpful. Physical activity. People often groan when we talk about physical activity, and often, in light of breathlessness, I'm not making light of that. But we're not necessarily talking about walking down the street or walking around the block, running on the treadmill. We're just looking at what activity could contribute to making you feel physically and psychologically feel a bit better in contributing to your well-being. It helps to maintain a healthy body weight and composition. It improves quality of life and reduces, I think, the level of fatigue, anxiety and depression, which is something that if people can also find very frustrating in terms of there isn't a magic pill for something for fatigue. A little bit activity would potentially be helpful, and there is a lot of research being done in that. We're not necessarily, as I said, talking about walking round the block or running for a bus or going swimming or things like that. We're talking about, can I get up from the chair during the adverts and perhaps do a little bit extra. We'd be looking at working with somebody who's got some activity experience in cancer to see what would be relevant to you to try and reduce these levels of fatigue, maintain that healthy body weight, and reduce that functional loss for you. It has to be realistic. it has to be realistic, and the goal is to stay as active as you can. And so if people haven't been very active, it's saying, could I possibly do something that was a little bit more active to build on that muscle strength? Everyone would have their own starting point and baseline, and it could be built upon for people, and friends and family can help you to do that. If involve them as well, helps you maintain some changes, but be patient with yourself and make it realistic. The important thing is that you do some movement where you can, and that can be seated. Most Maggies offer a seated exercise, which is just as valuable as anything else. So it might be a nice starting point for people. Becoming an active partner in your own care is the absolute essence of prehabilitation. It's the absolute essence of getting yourself ready. So it's about making choices that are realistic to your own set of circumstances, that have the potential to improve your well-being and give you a sense of control. And that's emotional well-being, nutrition, and physical activity. The sessions also cover additional health changes, things like smoking, alcohol, or non-prescription medication, and support with managing some of these things as well. So you're the active partner, you're the most important person in your own care, and you have some control over making some choices around these changes if you would like. Maggie's is offering this pilot across the 8 centres. You just need to come in. We're offering an online session as well in Highland if people are interested, and you can join that at any point. I'm very happy for Jen to be offering my contact details out for anybody who wanted to get in touch and join a session, or if you wanted to contact your own local Maggie's to join a session, you would be very welcome. I'm very happy to take questions, but I think Ethan's got a film lined up that just captures it a little bit more in essence, and then I'd be happy to take any comments or any questions after that.
Welcome to Maggie's 5. No matter what you're facing after a cancer diagnosis, our cancer support specialists, psychologists, and benefits advisors are here with you. You might be wondering, what is prehabilitation? Quite simply, it's about getting yourself ready for what's ahead. The earlier you start prehabilitation, the better. And there are a few small things you can do for yourself. At Maggie's, we'll give you the information to make the right choices for you, whether that's nutrition, physical activity, or emotional well-being. We'll also discuss the support you can get for you and your loved ones here in Maggie's 5, before, during, and after treatment.
As a surgeon, I've seen firsthand the benefits that prehabilitation has for my own patients. They come into my hospital fitter and stronger, and that's both physically and mentally. I think they recover from their surgery quicker, that then allows them to go back home and do the things that are important to them. But I'm not just talking about surgery. The other treatments, chemotherapy, radiotherapy, immunotherapy, or combinations, all of these have something to benefit from prehabilitation. And the evidence is there that not only is prehab safe for you, but also there's benefits to be gained irrespective of the type of cancer that you have. So this is why organisations such as the NHS and Maggie's are here to not only support you, but provide prehabilitation that I think should become a part of your cancer care.
Being physically active has many benefits to both your physical and emotional health. It can help reduce the effects of fatigue and help with the effects of low mood and anxiety. It can help you to have a better night's sleep and strengthen your immune system. Research shows that being as active as possible can help reduce the risk of complications from surgeries and help your recovery after your treatment. Everyone is different, so in the prehabilitation sessions, our experts will support you to identify the right level of physical activity for you, whether that's taking a short walk, joining a gentle seated exercise class, or going to the gym. It can be overwhelming to think about where to start, So getting support to set a simple activity goal can help you to start taking small steps towards change.
Slowly bring it back in.
Good nutrition can help you to maintain a healthy body weight and conserve muscle and strength. It can also help improve your tolerance to treatment and help promote recovery if you do receive treatment. The dietary advice recommended will vary from person to person and depends on your body weight, appetite, and whether you've lost weight without planning to. During prehabilitation, we will discuss practical dietary tips and how to set dietary goals that will help support your body.
You might be feeling lots of different emotions right now, but you can take positive steps to look after and improve your emotional well-being, which is so important after a cancer diagnosis. And by looking after your well-being, you can better prepare for the journey ahead. In addition to difficult emotions, you might sometimes experience unhelpful thoughts that impact your day-to-day life. This is normal. During your prehabilitation, Maggie's experts will give you some tips on how to manage these difficult emotions to give you a better sense of control.
Cancer diagnosis brings lots of insecurities, lots of worries, lots of concerns. You don't plan to have a cancer. It's okay to feel upset and it's okay to feel bad about the situation and sad or angry. Prehab will definitely help you to stay in control. You will feel informed. You'll be able to manage your anxieties. You'll be able to get advice from personal trainer and all sorts of information about your diet. Most important, you'll get to speak to someone who would know what you're going through at this point. Meeting with other people gave me reassurance. It gave me hope. It made me feel I'm not alone. We know how challenging a cancer diagnosis can be, but you've already taken some positive steps to find out more about prehabilitation and making the small changes that are right for you. Remember, Maggies are here with you for as long as you need us. Our expert staff are here for whatever comes up. Just come in. We're here with you.
Well, Alison, that was just superb. Thank you so much for sharing that with us all. I'm sure everybody's in agreement with that. From a nurse's point of view, I support my patients and been referring them to you, be glad to know. And it's really, really lovely to see a little bit about what's going on because I haven't hugely been as aware. Maybe it's not as aware I should have been, but it's great. I'm also, don't know what anybody else is picking up, but it's very interesting because what I'm picking up is it's giving everybody a bit of control back, giving these patients a bit of control back. And I think that's, I've seen that in the video and from your presentation, and I'm sure that's resonating with everybody about the importance of that because my patients are always telling me that they just have no control about what's happening, and that's really difficult for them. So it's lovely to see that there's something out there to help them. We don't have many questions again. I have some feedback from someone who said, find the staff at Maggie's Edinburgh. So some feedback from Maggie's Edinburgh to say that they've been able to ask all sorts of questions they don't been able to ask their mum who's got measles. And Andy in Edinburgh, so you can feedback to him, has given great advice on helping mum with nutrition as she'd lost quite a bit of weight and various other aspects of her health and mental well-being, which I know we're going to come on to Ailey in a wee while, which is the next presentation. I don't know if anybody else has got any questions on the panel here. Again, I just picked up, I think you said in Highland that we're getting virtual for our patients, which is great. I noticed on the video there that there was like a group activity, and obviously inside a Maggie Centre. And do we have that in Highland Daily? Is that how it's running for everybody, or is it individual? Is it different in different places? And probably to both of you there.
If I could answer first, that would be great. So at the
Thanks.
moment, it has been mainly online and sort of individually as well. So we have had a few people coming into the centre, and we've been sort of offering this prehab session individually with them. So we're slightly, well, I wouldn't say the word is behind, but other Maggie centres have been doing this a bit longer. So as the word gets around and more folk get in touch with us, we'll be having sessions in the building as well.
Okay.
And I
Good.
think,
That's good to
Ailey,
know.
you're definitely not behind. I think you're front runners in terms of, because of the difficulty in Highland, that geographic difficulty. I think the really
Mhm.
that it is available online, and then it opens up the rest of the MAGI programme to the meso community and their families for the additional elements in the programme that fit in nicely with the prehab narrative, so the relaxation sessions or the nutrition sessions or the exercise sessions. So the centres are running face-to-face the prehab sessions, but regardless, it opens the access to the rest of the programme for patients and families, which is actually what we're able to evidence as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was wondering
Go for it, Laura.
sorry, I know. I was just wondering that is the prehab program is the kind of modules for the prehab program the same everywhere, or say like Highland are doing something that somebody in Glasgow quite like the look of, would they be able to link over, or does it not cross like that?
So it doesn't cross like that. It's not to say that it couldn't, but because it's a pilot with quite defined parameters by Scottish Government, we're delivering this 90-minute session in the main face to face. It's interesting because we don't have Maggie's in Ayrshire and Arran or Dumfries and Galloway, and so there's that equity of access, and there's a bit discussion around that, but that wasn't part of the pilot, and it's always part of our Maggie's discussion. So I think there's the potential for that. But what I would definitely say, Laura, is if there was somebody in Glasgow who was interested, who felt they'd really like to do that, would they like to engage with the Glasgow Centre, or is that a phone call, or is that something that I can help facilitate, in terms of making a different offer? But very happy to make sure that it is accessible to those people that would like to access it.
Yeah, thank you.
And we're talking about access, so I'd picked up. I know that we're referring people, so the nurse specialists are referring people. We're almost suggesting it, but we've got patients, and we'll be like, oh, this is a pilot that's ongoing at the moment. It may be of interest to you, and then we'll pop them over to Maggie. Sometimes physically walk them nowadays as well. Back to that pre-COVID days, which is great. Because sometimes people just don't want to go on their own, and they're like, oh, you're like, oh, staff are lovely and Maggie's, let's go over together, and you get a chance to walk with them and you glean so much from them at the same time. But the other access as well is so access to yourselves. I'm picking up from you earlier on, access through patients just walking into Maggie's themselves. Is there what's all the routes of access to the pilot?
So patients and families can access themselves. They can pick up the phone and phone their local Maggie Centre. They can come into the centre and book themselves in. They can come through you, or they can come through me, or they can come through Ailey. And we're trying to encourage our clinical partners to to be able to, if you like, refer. So a lot of the centres are working with one particular site, but all our centres are open to all cancer sites, and that would include meso patients and their families as well. So people can present, they can ask their they can phone up and ask for more information, or if they feel like their healthcare professional to get in touch for them and find out a little bit more, they can do it that way as well.
Grand. I was going to say that, because this is obviously a patient and carers day, and I'm sure you should all know who your meso nurses are, your cancer nurses are. I'm hoping you all do. And if you're not sure about going yourself, I know we're more than happy to. I know Laura would be more than happy to help take you take you to Maggie's if required, physically or otherwise. And I'm sure I'm just putting a wee message up here, but I'm sure because this presentation's here, I'm sure the link will be on there once this has been uploaded to the website, which it will be. You know, today's event will be uploaded shortly, which will be quite good as well. And someone's asked, is there any of the prehab sessions of specific interest to mesothelioma patients? So is there, you know, you spoke about breathlessness, but is there any of this, you know, there's any particular ones of interest to our specific group of patients here?
So it's been designed that the session would be applicable to anybody with a cancer diagnosis and across the board. So I think Ailey's probably much better placed to answer that, because I see in the main colorectal patients in Fife, but that's not to say that the session wouldn't be suitable if I had, you know, 2 colorectal patients, 2 meso patients, 2 breast cancer patients, all in the same session. It would all still be applicable. I think Ailey has in Highland a little bit more of a mixed group. Would that be right, Ailey?
Yeah. Our experience is that individuals, it's a nice kind of safe environment. So individuals are, they can ask questions that are relevant to their own situation, and there are certain things that I guess are can be cancer specific in terms of information and certain treatments, but in terms of sort of emotional well-being and sort of certain aspects of nutrition activity, a lot of these things are very generic, but we can talk more specifically what's relevant for each individual at each session. So it could be very individual.
I think time will tell if it's a pilot as well. Time will tell about how that develops, I'm sure, girls.